All right, YouTube fans, welcome to Offsides, Week 15 of the NFL action. We're going to talk about a couple of the games, and we're going to go over some topics that kind of interesting as they've been playing out throughout the season. So first and foremost, the first game we're going to talk about Miami, New England. Obviously, New England has gone up and down throughout the season. I did not expect them to lose to Miami this time around, though, to be honest, unless you guys did. I mean, what's your take on it?
I almost picked Miami just because they didn't have Gronk, and he's huge for the red zone, which you saw. Anybody that watched the game saw that they got in the red zone once out of 4 tries.
Right.
So it's just he's a huge target. That's who they go to when they're down there.
Right.
Without him, they don't have anybody that they can consistently go to.
Right. Now, do you think Belichick has enough, I guess, I don't know, tools to actually make a good run in the playoffs, or what do you think?
You can, with Tom Brady, you can always make a run.
Okay.
If you have an all-star quarterback, you've got a fighter's chance.
You got a shot at it. Cool. All right. Next one we'll go over. I'm going to go with Randy on this one. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Now, it's kind of my Hail Mary pick was Pittsburgh to make this actually a decent run. They have to do a lot of things, a lot of mathematics around here for them to make it. But they beat Cincy. And Cincy we picked as a pretty powerful team. Pittsburgh was able to take care of it. I mean, is Cincy not a contender? I mean, what do we see? What do we take away from this game?
Well, first I'm going to send a little shout out to Jeff and Suze. They watch us every week, and I just want to tell you, Jeff, I hate your Steelers. Hate them.
That's
but,
okay.
But Cincy is still a contender. This game was in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Cincinnati, historically does not do good in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I still pick Cincy to win because I still think Pittsburgh is inept, except when I pick against Pittsburgh, then Pittsburgh is spectacular.
Sure.
I will be picking Pittsburgh to win the last 2 games of the season.
Okay.
Watch them lose. But yeah, Cincy's still a contender.
Okay.
And Pittsburgh will not make the playoffs.
Pittsburgh won't make the playoffs since he just had a bad day at the office.
Since he had a bad day at Pittsburgh's office.
Okay. And the last game we want to go over, Dallas, Green Bay. Now, if you got a chance to watch the dynamic of this game, it was absolutely impressive. To watch Dallas and just the sidelines and the way they were feeling, the whole stadium rocking, and they're pumped, and then all of a sudden Green Bay scores 20 some odd points in the
5 touchdowns.
Absolutely ridiculous. I was actually impressed. I was actually really, really impressed. I mean, they never gave up. Green Bay never gave up on this one.
They didn't.
Matt Flynn.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about him in the second half.
Yeah.
He looks horrible every first half.
Right. I mean, unbelievable. They got the ground game going. That's how they scored some of the touchdowns with Lacey.
Rookie of the year.
I was actually, I'll be honest.
What about Keenan Allen?
I was surprised. I don't know. Is Green Bay, are they outside looking in on the playoffs, though?
They need a little bit of help.
Okay.
But
you need a little bit of help because you're jinxing them.
Right.
I figured it out, so I'm not jinxing it now.
Right. I mean,
I thought that game was done. I was asleep by halftime.
Right. And he's a fan.
And I'm a fan. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is horrible.
I don't even want to see this, or I'll start crying.
And then all of a sudden a touchdown, and then another touchdown, and then, oh man, here we go.
And that was it. And unbelievable. I was actually more impressed about Green Bay is just continuing to attack Dallas and continuing to just...
I didn't understand why they didn't run the ball. The Cowboys.
Right. I think the play calling was weak.
That was really bad play calling.
Yeah.
Okay, do we think Green Bay won that game, or did Dallas lose it? Because obviously all the fighting in Dallas says that Dallas just lost that game and just handed it to Green Bay.
Dallas, it appeared that they were trying to lose that game because of the play calling, but Green Bay still had to score all those points. I mean,
they had to score.
They had to score 5 touchdowns just to win by 1 point. So it had to be a combination of both. There's no way Dallas just gave it to them because Green Bay still had to do all that work to get it.
So is it a lack of coaching on Dallas' side? I guess
yes.
It's a lack of good coaching.
Lack of good coaching, lack of good personnel choosing, lack of a good owner. I mean, it's
a number of things.
It's everything. That whole thing. And Romo is still a gunslinger who chokes,
which is not good for a gunslinger.
No,
I mean, you want your gunslinger to actually produce.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So that's interesting. So that leads us to our first topic: Romo, Dallas, the marriage. Is it over after this year?
Not with the giant contract they gave him. No, he's there for the next 5 years minimum.
But will the fans be happy about
Yes,
that?
the fans still love him. They don't even really blame Romo. It's the media that blames Romo.
Okay. What's your take? Romo
I agree. Romo will be there.
Romo stays.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. There's no way they should have been calling all those pass plays. That was just dumb.
So you think?
But then Romo audibled out of a run play. He said, "No, I don't want to run it. I want to still throw."
He didn't audible. That's just what they do when he gets that look. The coaches should have said that don't throw that pass even if you get a bad look, just run the ball. But yeah,
he threw was it 2 picks
at the end?
Yeah, at the end. So and
that's the only way the Packers could stop him was to get the
ball back.
Yeah.
Well, they needed to because they were at time. They had 1 timeout left. The clock is against them, and they were able. And again, Dallas is throwing the ball.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm either thinking, is it quarterback decision making or is it bad coaching?
Bad coaching.
Bad coaching.
I'd have to go with bad coaching.
Bad coaching.
I think.
So what you guys are saying is maybe get a new head coach.
I would think so.
He's already committed to him for next season.
Ooh.
It's like Jerry Jones has already said Jason Garrett is my coach next year. So he can change his mind. He owns the team, but he usually doesn't do anything like that because he likes to say, I own it, so I'm pushing this.
Right.
And it's like, I would say he's here even though you guys don't want him.
But things change if you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Dallas doesn't make it again. To not make it again. But, Sally going through this, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
After these last 2 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys now have the worst defense in the league, so that's not all Romo's fault.
That's true. Good point there.
It is Monty Kiffin's fault.
Yeah. Oh, man,
it went from Minnesota to Dallas.
Maybe we need some changing. Maybe we need some changing from coaches. Now, I don't know all the specifics. I know you guys do. Des Bryant leaves the game early. What does that tell you, or why did he leave the game? First of all,
It's supposedly because this is the excuse he gave. He didn't want anybody to see him crying on the sideline.
See him crying.
That was.
Now, is that literally, or is that?
Literally.
Is that mentally?
That was literally. He said he was literally crying.
He's literally crying on the sideline. Now, what does that show you as far as this kid's mental toughness in the NFL for this team? He compares himself to Calvin Johnson. We've seen Calvin and him on 2 different levels. What does that put this kid at? And is it someone? Is it someone you keep, or you have to really coach? You have to give him a personal mentor.
You have to keep him. He's too talented not to.
Okay, so what do you do with Mr. Bryant? What does it tell you about his mental toughness?
He's a top 5 wide receiver. Did you see that catch he made in the back of the end zone?
Yes, I did see. Yes,
he is a top 5 wide receiver, talent-wise, mentally. He could end up like a T.O. or a Chad Johnson, where he becomes a detriment to the team. Talented, he'll have a job for many years to come, but he's going to bounce to some teams if he doesn't grow up.
If he doesn't clean up his act.
Yeah.
To me personally, when you play and you're part of the team, you enter that field as a team. You leave the field as a team, and when you see a player that we know who has challenges when it comes to his mental toughness, leave the field early. I'll tell you what, as a player, I would be absolutely livid with that man. Like, you were supposed to be our up-and-coming star, up-and-coming leader, and you can't even stick around for the whole game that we just got our butts kicked in.
Yeah.
So you might be right. He might be shipped around. He might be the Terrell Owens, where San Francisco, Philly, everywhere, like that. So I don't know. That could be the same kind of thing. We'll kind of see. All right, so Shanahan, Redskins. Now, obviously, the Redskins, some of us picked them a lot higher as far as what they were going to do. This guy over here.
I'm proud of that.
Yes, he is. But I think we all expected more of the Redskins.
I did.
And we're seeing an absolute debacle over there. Shanahan's, I don't know if it's both or if it's just one, but it's not working. This whole, if you put all this stuff in a blender and you hit the blend button, you're not getting anything that tastes good right now. So what are the Redskins going to do? What's their next move?
They should be able to get a pretty good pick out of Kirk Cousins.
No. Well, yeah, when they trade Kirk Cousins, but do you know that they've traded their first-round pick, which right now is the number 2 pick, to St. Louis?
Yeah, well, I know.
So, boy, they better find somebody who really wants Kirk Cousins. Maybe St. Louis will take him for a first-round pick.
Their first-round pick.
Yeah, their first-round pick, the number 2 pick for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think? The head coaching, maybe Kyle, his son?
I think Shanahan. Well,
don't
blame Kyle. It's not
both
Kyle's
gone,
fault.
one gone?
He's doing what his father tells him.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think Mike's gonna go. I think he has to go.
You think you get rid of the head coach?
Yeah.
Well, he wants to go. You can tell he wants to go. He wants his $7 million for next season. If he gets fired, he gets the $7 million. They even looked at the contracts yesterday.
Really?
They looked at the contracts, looked at them, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's.
Right.
Shanahan was no dummy because what he went through with Al Davis, if he gets fired, he gets paid. Dan Snyder has to give him $7 million. Next year, he'll be paying 2 coaches.
Gotcha. Similar to what the Broncos had to do with McDaniels and
Yep.
Fox. They're looking at the same thing over there. Now, if
But we weren't paying McDaniel $7 million. So.
No, we weren't. Now, if you're looking to bring on a head coach for the Redskins, who do you guys like? If you're getting rid of Shanahan, you gotta have a plan, right? You can't just be like, Shanahan, you're gone, and I don't know what we're gonna do. Your interim coach is gonna do this and that and the other. So, who do you bring in?
I'll tell you, I think Jack Del Rio gets another shot somewhere in the NFL because he went 3-1 with Fox's absence.
Right.
Beat Kansas City twice.
Right.
Del Rio had a pretty good record in Jacksonville.
Right.
I think Del Rio could end up in a place like Washington because he doesn't really want control of his, all the thing. I got to buy the groceries if I coach the team, if I'm going to cook the meal.
Right.
He just
Right.
wants to coach.
Yeah.
I think he could be looked at for
Yeah.
Washington. And I think
Yeah.
he could bring some stability and a.
Yeah, that would be a good option. I mean, he's defensive minded.
He is, and
so
they need help.
They need help on defense. I mean, we can all agree with that. So, I mean, that might be a good move where they look to someone like a Jack Del Rio. Because if the Broncos are able to put something together and we win it out, I mean, that would be something that obviously Del Rio would definitely entertain.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure
I think
he
you
would.
give Daryl Bevel a shot.
Who?
Daryl Bevel, offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah?
I thought you were going to say Dom Capers for the
Oh yeah.
Packers.
If you want him, you can take him. But
Defensive-minded coach.
I don't think Tom Capers is going to be a head coach anytime soon.
no, not after the way the Packers did.
No. Okay, so new coach with the Redskins, what we come up with. Now, next question, because this is kind of crazy. Matt Castle and the Vikings. Really? Really? So, I read a report saying that they were like, look, Mr. Freeman, he's not part of our future plans. Mr. Ponder, you're not part of our future plans. They're saying they're going to go into the offseason with Matt Castle as their starting quarterback. Is this the guy that can help them? Or is this the guy that still hinders them from being a good team?
He's too up and down. Some games he looks great, like he did this past game, and then some weeks he's just
Awful.
a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
How many years did he start in Kansas City that didn't go anywhere?
He had a couple. He had a couple
Couple
years
years.
that he was given, but he's basically Minnesota Matt Flynn. That's what he is. He's
Does he just
He's not your franchise quarterback.
Does he understand the way it works over there in Viking land rather than Kansas City? Because Kansas City, who they have, head coach Haley at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had Haley. Did he just not understand the way that...
Well, he played earlier this year and didn't do that great. I mean, that's why they got Freeman. I mean,
Yeah, because they put in Matt Castle and he didn't do very well.
Right.
But he has one good game now, and they're saying he's the quarterback of the future. I don't, I don't buy it.
With the draft pick that they're going to end up with, they'll take one of the. If a lot of these underclassmen start coming out for this year's draft,
Okay.
Minnesota will take a quarterback.
They'll go after one.
They'll pick one in the first round.
They'll pick someone up. So it's interesting to see, the Vikings, the dynamic of them, and with Matt Castle and putting up the points they did without, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
And to be able to produce this, was it good for them to actually not have Adrian Peterson in the game?
No.
I mean, they put up 41 points without Adrian Peterson.
They should be able to do that easier.
Yeah, with Adrian Peterson.
But you know what I'm saying? Like when your back's against the wall, so to speak, and you know that you don't have your rock over here, then you know you have to pick it up. Is that why they perform so well? Because now Matt's like, I don't have the stud I need back here, so it's time for us to get it going.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't play that when he's there.
Well, and this is the only thing I can. This is the only thing I
Kinda
can
complacent.
think of. When you have an Adrian Peterson in your offense, you want to use him. So maybe it's an overuse thing by the offensive coordinator. He doesn't have a creative play calling system because he just figures I need to get the ball into Peterson's hand. Without Peterson,
Right.
without the other guy, it's like, and they had the third stringer. They really, they had to actually think of. my God, maybe I should come up with something creative to do with my quarterback and my wide receivers. And that Patterson, that's a good kid.
You know what?
Man.
He probably looked at the roster and said, "Hey, we have Craig Jennings."
Ooh,
Right.
I could throw to that guy.
I think we picked this guy up from
We
somewhere.
did get this guy to
Yeah.
throw him the ball.
Yeah.
You know why he hasn't gotten hurt this year? Because nobody's hit him.
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to tackle him because he never has
He's
the
never
ball.
had the ball. So I mean, maybe that's what happened. It changed that dynamic into where they're like, we need to change our play calling, and maybe that's something they do in the future. And that's what we all are wondering. Like, how can you not produce play action with Adrian Peterson? I mean, seriously, how can you not produce that? Maybe that's something they do.
Because
Maybe
they don't do
Matt
play
Castle-
action, they just give him the ball. There is no such thing as play action. It's like, here you go,
There
Adrian.
you go. You need 35 carries this game. I mean, it's so maybe they change it up a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. I mean,
Maybe
you talked
as-
about the defense, how weak it is. They do need defensive help. Maybe that frees them up a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? And then last one, what do the Panthers have to do to win the NFC? To actually go to the Super Bowl? What do the Panthers have to do?
They're going to have to shoot Russell Wilson.
That's a tall order, yeah.
It is a tall order, but
they're
it's a good one because Panthers they're playing pretty good. So
They'd have to go to Seattle and win.
mhm.
It's assuming Seattle goes to the NFC Championship.
Right, but I mean, scheme wise, what do you need to have happen with the Panthers in order to make your adjustments and go through teams like Seattle, like San Francisco, all these other dynamic teams? What do you have to do to prepare the Panthers to do that?
Right now, they're just going to have to catch somebody off guard. They're going to have to they're going to have to play their best games in the playoffs. Now, Baltimore did it last year. I just think Carolina cannot get past the San Francisco. They cannot get past Seattle. Those two teams are they're at the top of the NFC, I think, head and shoulders above New Orleans and Carolina and just about anybody, especially anybody from the NFC East or North.
Right.
Although I will give, if the Packers can make it in, a Packers team with Aaron Rodgers is, very good because you've got the best quarterback in the NFL.
Sure, you got one on the top. Now, but what do they have to do? You're the coach. You're the coach of the Panthers. You're getting ready to make your playoff run. I mean, season starts over. How do you prepare them to take on some of these teams? Do you change up a little bit of the defensive schemes, the offensive schemes? What do you do? Do you run it more with Cam Newton? Do you do more of the D'Angelo Williams? Do you do more? What do you do?
I don't think Cam's good enough to beat them throwing. The X factor there is Cam Newton making plays with his feet.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing you can't account for. If he drops back to pass,
Right.
and there's nobody open, because that defense will smother those wide receivers.
Right.
So then he'll have to make plays with his feet.
Right.
And
Right.
if he can do that, they've got a shot. But
If they're all looking downfield and covering wide receivers, maybe Cam Newton can do some runs, like Kaepernick has done in the past, where he just kind of
Well,
runs free.
that's what happened with San Francisco last year. Is,
Yeah.
is no one was ready to take on Colin and his mobility.
Yeah.
And it proved to get them into the Super Bowl. I mean, they actually ran all over him with Colin.
Yeah.
And obviously they had Frank Gore, so it helps out too. Same thing kind of with Cam Newton, D'Angelo Williams, and so
I think Seattle counters that with their NASCAR package. Their 4 really fast defensive linemen.
yeah, they are quick.
They're aggressive and they hit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're-
so I
they're
think
fast.
that might cancel out some of that running that Cam Newton probably wants to do.
But it would be a dynamic game, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's
but
for sure.
I still think San Francisco, Seattle head of the class.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to be interesting as the playoffs do come up here very, very soon. That's it for us, guys, on Offsides Week 15. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you Week 16 NFL action. We're out.